Hey guys, welcome to another edition of The Point. And if you've been watching or attending 5 Point Church, you know we're in a series called Blindsided. And this is a series that we're using as a relationship series, but it's actually a series for all of us. It's when, during life, we are hit with something very unexpected and talking about how you respond to these events in your life, these events being blindsided. And so what I'm going to do for the next 4 weeks is I have asked some special people to join me each week and talk about how they were blindsided in life. Today I have Austin and Casey Reed, attend 5 Point, have been coming for years, attend faithful, serve. In fact, Casey was on staff, and then she had to step off. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to get started by asking, how old were you when you started dating, and where were you when you started dating? Where are you from?
So we started dating in college. We both went to Clemson. Austin is from Fountain Inn, and I'm from Easley. We started dating at Clemson when he was a senior and I was a junior.
Excellent. During the dating process, did you start asking any of the questions like we talked about last Sunday? Did you start asking questions to get to know each other and what each other wanted? And
I think we asked a few, certainly not to the extent that you mentioned on Sunday, which we should have. We should have. Hindsight 2020.
That's right.
But we got to know each other pretty well. Family was big. We wanted to make sure our families were going to get along. So we asked a few, but not as many as
in the course of those questions, did you talk about kids?
Yes.
Yep.
And you both wanted children. Mm-hmm. And was there a certain number you wanted?
Probably two.
Maybe three.
Maybe
two
okay.
to three.
Okay. And how long were you married before you actually started trying to have kids?
Yeah, our plan was 2 years. We want to be married 2 years and then start trying.
Okay. And did that plan work? Did you wait 2 years and start trying?
Yes, we did.
And how long did you try?
We tried for probably a year and a half.
And after not being successful, what did you do?
So we went to the fertility doctor where I got diagnosed with PCOS.
And what is that?
Polycystic ovarian syndrome.
That just means that you couldn't, or
it would be more difficult to have children.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were going through the fertility doctor, and then I felt really called to foster. And Austin did not.
I did not.
So
No.
when you say foster, you didn't plan on adopting. You just literally wanted to help somebody in a tough situation.
Yeah, we just wanted I just remember praying to God. I want to be a mom so bad. We have a home where we have rooms available for kids, so we wanted to do something to help children.
All right. During the time that you couldn't get pregnant and then you started fertility drugs, did you get upset at God or ask why? Or, God, you know how bad I want children?
Yeah, I remember we had like a nursery set up in our home, and I remember writing prayers and verses on the closet door and just literally begging God to make us parents.
And Austin, how were you trying to help your wife through this?
Well, honestly, it was difficult for me because you don't always know how to encourage your wife when she wants something so badly and it's not happening. And even at the time, it seemed like everybody around us was getting pregnant, which is just a burden, and it starts to weigh on you, and you're asking these questions. And looking back, I'll just be vulnerable for a second. Like, I didn't do the greatest job of supporting her. I didn't know how. I struggled with really leading her in that way, other than just praying for her, which, is just about all that I could do well. So it was tough for me, but it was obvious that it was draining her. So,
well, during the course of time of going through the fertility drugs, and then, I want to foster, and Austin didn't. What did you say to kind of encourage him to actually be willing to bring some children into the home?
Honestly, there was a point where I was like, I got to stop, bringing this up all the time. So I was like, I'm just going to pray. And if it's something that we're supposed to do, then I pray that the Lord, opens his heart to the idea. And then one night we were driving in the car and he was like, I think we should do it. So it was really just an answered prayer.
Well, so obviously you were blindsided by not being able to have children. They were definitely part of the plan. Thank you for being honest in that. Get upset about it. It's called human nature. Now we're headed to foster. What were the plans in fostering? Did you want a boy? Did you want a girl? What were you guys looking for? Age?
I wanted a baby. He wanted an older kid.
I wanted somebody that could play sports with me.
Well, at least you're being honest. Yeah. So how did that come into fruition? What did it look like for you guys to go through the steps to actually be foster parents?
Yeah, so we started the process, and then COVID kind of interrupted the process too.
Yeah.
So that was another point where we were like, God, we want to be parents so bad, and it just feels like every avenue is
Push
closed.
back. Yeah.
But we just continued going through the process. And, my prayer was ultimately like, well, maybe the child that we're supposed to get isn't in care yet. Maybe the child that we're supposed to get isn't even born yet. And that was the case because we got licensed on like a Thursday, and we got a call on a Friday that there were newborn twins that needed a home.
Wow. Yep. Did they tell you what they were? Boy, girl, two girls, two boys? What?
Yeah, DSS gets a lot of information wrong. So they told us that there were twins, that one was going to be in the NICU for a long time because he was having some trouble, but they were a boy and a girl, and that we would probably bring one home this week and then the other one home in a month or two. But we brought our girl home, Nova, on Sunday, and then David came home the following week.
Were there any surprises when you got the two kids?
Yeah,
For sure.
With twins, we were both up all night, every night. I was teaching, and of course, this was at the end of summer. It was August, so we got David on Sunday, and school started back on Monday.
Well, a lot of 5 Point people kind of know your all story, but if they don't know you, Austin. Were you a little shocked to see that they were not just white children?
Yeah, to be honest, not that it mattered, but we, when the process developed and we ended up taking them home, it was obvious after some time. But to us, it was, hey, we've got children in our home now. Yeah. And we had gone through this cycle of doubt and not sure if it was actually going to happen for us. So we were ecstatic, but it was a little shocking.
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Now, during the course of these two precious little miracles coming into your home, how long did you think you would have them for?
So there was a family member that was supposed to actually take them home when they were 2 months old. So we thought we would have them for about 2 months, and then they would go with a family member.
And how long did you have them?
We still have them.
So how did that process come about where you actually got to adopt them?
Yeah, so after that fell through, they tried several times to reunite them with family, and everything just fell through. And when they were 2 years old, we adopted them.
How long did it take before you said, I don't want to foster these children, I want these to be our children?
There was a point where I was praying for them and, their future, and I really felt like God was saying, these are your kids. So, yeah.
Yeah, and, there comes a point of time where you pour so much into them, even as infants, they become yours.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
You see them as yours, and that's exactly what happened with us. Honestly, looking back, I don't know that we could have ever been okay with them leaving our house. Even if that family member would have taken them, it would have been extremely tough on us because we were their mom and dad, and that's kind of the way we saw it.
Well, during the course of the time in which you had these precious little miracles, you got blindsided again. And tell us about that.
Yeah, so during this, we were still going through fertility treatments because we didn't expect them to stay with us. So all of our family was like, don't stop trying to have a biological child. So we continued on that journey. And when the twins were 3 months old, I got pregnant.
So now you have 3 months old, and now you're going to have one of your own.
Yes.
And how old are the twins today?
They are 3.
And how old is the child?
2.
2. And then I can remember sitting at the Smoking Pig, and Casey was on staff at this point, and she was helping with Kid Point, helping with our children, doing an amazing job. And we're all sitting around talking about losing weight while sitting at Smoking Pig. and we started talking about sweet tea. And I said, Casey, I'm like you. I love sweet tea, but I've had to quit drinking it. And I'll never forget you looking at me and saying, it doesn't matter now. Because you just lost how much weight?
Like almost 40 pounds.
Yeah, and you were over drinking sweet tea, and you were eating that junk. And I was like, Casey, that's not going to help. And you said, well, Pastor, I'm pregnant. So once again, you had your own. Was this the shock?
This was a very big shock, yes.
Okay, so you weren't trying at this time, or
Nope.
And it just happened again.
It just happened. Yeah.
So now I want both of you, from your own perspective, tell me what being blindsided through this entire experience spiritually has meant to you. Austin?
Yeah, for me, just to backtrack and maybe give some clarity, like Casey mentioned, she wanted to foster, and originally I did not. And so through prayer and really seeking the Lord, I really feel in my heart that the Lord was waiting on us to be obedient to what we were supposed to do fostering before we were going to get our own. And so spiritually, I think looking back, it makes all the sense in the world, because I think the Lord was like, hey, you're meant to have these kids. You've got to be obedient here, and then I'm gonna make it happen for you. So really just seeking his will and being in prayer, spiritually seeking him. When you talk about it every Sunday, staying in the Word, and really being obedient to what you feel like you're being called to do is the biggest takeaway I've had.
Before we get to you, Casey, during that time of trying, did you ever get upset at God and stop reading and stop and kind of begin to distance yourself because you're so disappointed?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard seeing your spouse go through that.
Sure.
And you wonder why. And then there's a point in time where you realize distancing myself is not going to solve anything. In fact, it's going to hurt you. And so we got back together and we had some hard conversations and started praying together before bed every night and really just trying to do our due diligence spiritually to be prepared for hopefully
so he knew his part.
Exactly. When the time came, we'd be ready.
That's good. So good. Casey, what about you? How did you grow spiritually through all of this, being completely blindsided, can't have kids, to fostering, to adopting, to actually having a couple?
Yeah, so I think I grew up I had a really good childhood. So I feel like infertility was the first time I'd ever been told no, which sounds so spoiled and bratty. But I'd always, gotten the things that I wanted. I'd worked hard, good childhood, like I said. And then something like that where you're told no, it just kind of wrecks you. So spiritually, looking back now, I just see myself still, on that floor begging God to make it a nursery. And now he just completely blindsided us in the best way with a house full of kids. And sometimes it's more than we feel like we can handle, but it's just been so amazing to see him answer our prayers.
I tell people all the time, be careful what you pray for.
Yes, yes.
So true.
Because you just never know what you're going to get. Well, I want to tell both of you, thank you so much for coming, sharing your story, and just being so honest with us. And the point is this: through the course of being blindsided, just keep your eyes on Jesus. Keep doing what you're supposed to do so God can do what I know he wants to do. Next week, we'll have another couple talking about a different situation in which they were blindsided. Until then, see you next time.